Before we start, just a quick request for all of you kind enough to listen to our podcast. We really appreciate it. We are grateful for every listener, and we are aware that some of you are listening via Spotify. We would like to remove our podcast from this platform, as the CEO of this organisation, Daniel Ek, has a less than salubrious history of underpaying musicians for their art, and has of late made questionable investments with the money he has made through Spotify. Two glaring examples are the €600,000 investment in Helsing, which is an AI weapons company, and the $150,000 paid to Trump's inauguration bash. We don't want to just pull a podcast from Spotify immediately and stop you listening to us, but we would kindly ask you to find alternative platforms to find us, be it a podcatcher app, YouTube, or just going direct to our source hosting site, given in the show notes. We will no longer be available on Spotify from the end of May. Thank you again for your support, but please don't use Spotify, as even the free version uses ad revenue to pay for evil shit perpetrated with their profits, and very little goes towards the artists you listen to. Satan does not like AI, weaponry, or Trump, and likes musicians to be paid a fair rate.
Hell is empty, and all the devils are here.
Welcome to another slightly belated edition of the Devil's Library. This time I have with me Pike.
Hail Satan.
Ligea.
Burn the witch.
And Lithos.
Hail Satan.
And as you might tell from Ligea's Burn the Witch comment, this time we're reading The Wax Child by Olga Ravn. The Wax Child is literally that, a small child figurine made from wax by Kristen's Crook Off. Now, small note here, if I pronounce any of these names wrong, or you guys think that I'm saying them
We
wrong,
will burn you.
burn me alive at on a ladder or something.
I don't think any of us speak Danish.
No, we're just going to have our best guess, yeah. Kristen's is a 17th century Danish noblewoman. When we first meet her, she lives alongside Anne Bill. Anne has had numerous miscarriages and a few full-term births, which inevitably end with the baby dying shortly after birth. Anne ends up accusing Christine of witchcraft, and Christine flees to Aalborg, which is in northern Jutland, where she meets and befriends some of the local women, Maren Elizabeth, who is married to Pastor Coyne, Dort, and Apollone, not sure. When Elizabeth is repeatedly abused by her husband, the women attempt to rescue Elizabeth, and soon the accusations of witchcraft are flying about Kristen's again. The Wax Child itself is a sentient literary device, flitting from person to person and recounting Kristen's story to us, the modern reader. And the events of this novel are a fictionalisation of real events.
I think you said enough, so goodbye.
And if any listeners haven't read the book yet, well, they have now.
Yeah, you now have.
Yes. Yeah.
We always do spoilers. Yeah.
Well, yes, spoilers. Lots of women get executed.
Okay, who would like to start?
Well, who suggested this book and why?
Oh, I did.
I know.
Yeah, but I've already talked quite a lot. So
Did you know why, or you just?
it was recommended to me.
Uh-huh.
And the person who recommended it to me has usually got very good taste. We've usually got very similar reading tastes. So I looked at it and thought, ooh, that looks interesting. And then I saw that it was quite short. And so I thought it would be a good one for us to do.
It is actually 183 pages. That's what I was checking now. So it's tiny.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true.
It's short, but it's not a quick read.
No, not. It wasn't for me. It wasn't a quick read.
No. Am I right in assuming that we all got excited when we realized we were reading a witch book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Why? Why do we love witch books?
Because we are witches. No.
Satanic witches.
I mean, I don't mind even that attribute. because I think it's like just being rebellious and misunderstood most of the time, and searching knowledge and being not confirming and not willing to be submissive, probably. And sometimes it's just like, I don't know, having a birthmark is enough. I don't know.
All of that sounds perfectly satanic to me.
I'm saying
Yes.
that, yeah, you know, like, yeah.
I think that's why it spoke to me. The witchcraft element of it is kind of like all the things that happen to these women are, you know, the kind of like the result of male Christian fundamentalist fasci type people who are the kind of people that we kind of like stand against anyway. So there was a kind of fella, you know, I'm not going to sit here and suggest we go through the same as they went through, but there's certainly a fellow feeling there, I think.
Yeah. I think it's quite hard to write about witches because it's been done a lot, and often
And
what
very
happens,
badly.
yeah, and not even necessarily always badly, but it's a very feminist topic, and it's very clear what you are going to say about it. That's what I quite liked about this book. It doesn't take a modern feminist and then make her this Danish witch in 17th century. They are these women set in that time. They do feel like real characters, and even their witchcraft is a bit questionable. Is there actually witchcraft? Did you read it as it being actual magic?
It was ambiguous to me.
I didn't think it was.
You didn't.
No. Sorry, what were you going to say, Larage?
I was going to say I read it as witchcraft in the same way as I read Christians praying. You know, it's just a ritual that people do.
Yeah.
I mean, you think of some of the so-called witchcraft they do, it's more about kind of like protection. It's not about attack, it's about defend. A lot of it, or that's how I saw it anyway.
Yeah,
Or
and fear
healing.
from
Or
fear
healing,
of
yeah.
what can happen.
And there seemed to be as much ritual in the kind of like ordinary everyday events they do, like the carding of the wool, or the gutting of the fish, and those kind of like communal activities. There seemed to be just as much ritual and magic, he said in air quotes, in those things.
People before internet and TV and radio and mobile phones, and before they had, you know, hundreds of books to just buy every Sunday or Saturday. So they had to do something.
I think there's also the kind of medical aspect, you know, the healing aspect, which is that, you know, we're talking about the early 17th century. And at that time, would you really want to go to, well, I'll call them quacks, people who call themselves doctors, because they didn't even know about basic hygiene or germs or hand washing. So you might as well go to the local witch because, you know, they've got an experience to fall back on. Which one's more likely to heal you is going to be questionable.
The bloodletter.
Yeah, exactly. Someone who goes, here come the leeches, you know, and I'm going to cut you open and I'm not even going to wash my hands after I've taken a piss. You know, you go, right, okay, I might as well go to the witch then.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it is pretty much a coin toss, isn't it? Do I go and see the guy who's going to stick me, or am I going to go and see the old woman who's going to make me eat something horrible? It doesn't really matter at the end of the day.
Okay, Larage. Why is she old?
Good point. Yeah.
I'm asking for a
No,
friend.
you're absolutely right. Why did I say old? I don't know. That's kind of like the caricature of a witch, isn't it?
Yeah, because
It's
there's
a
only
cliche.
one of them in this novel that's
bit.
old. Is it daughter? Yeah, who lost an eye.
Oh, yeah. Sorry, it was not attacking you. I just think
No,
it's good
you're
to point that
absolutely
out
right.
because that is the usual image that people
That's
have.
the stereotypical presentation.
An old hag or ugly, wrinkled woman.
You see, you read to Anton LaVey, and look what happens. It gets in your head.
Yeah.
I think what you said about the ritualistic nature of their magic is spot on. That's how I read it as well, because it's very intertwined with their folklore. And it made me think also, because they're women and they're trying to protect themselves, it's also kind of the sort of ritual, quote unquote, magic like you get in Margaret Atwood, right? Whatever it is, Nolite da Bastardo. You repeat something or you do something, and it's there to make you feel calmer.
Yeah.
I mean, that seems to be that's one of the like most common elements of most ritualistic stuff, isn't it? It's the repetition of it. Kind of like builds up there.
Like a spell being passed. I really liked that. I think the author is like a poet also. Does she sorry,
she has published a lot of poetry, and she started out as a poet, I believe.
It was, for me, that how it was written, I needed to like get used to it. I was not expecting that. And I was reading the first, 10 pages maybe 3 times to get into that mood, because I didn't want to mess it up for myself. Because I was like, this is something new. This is, I need to like, my atoms need to like reform somehow in me. Like, what is going on? I'm really liking this, but I need to really be calm and focused. It's not a book that you can read just on a run, I think. It would be lost. Like, the value of the book would be absolutely lost, I think. That's why
it's
it took
very
me
dense,
few
right?
days. It is dense. Yeah. Oof.
I just loved it for the way it was written. I love poetry anyway, and I've not read any of her poetry, but I'm fully intending to. And this whole novel seemed to me the closest thing to poetry that something written in prose could actually be. It was just so beautifully written. Really beautifully written. It was very close and internal and narrow and claustrophobic and very sensory. Things were described as having a sight and a smell and a kind of it was just, everything was so
visceral.
Immediate. Yeah.
Sensory
wonderful,
rich.
absolutely wonderful.
But do you guys think this book, you could absolutely suggest this book to anybody? I don't think it's for everybody. I have a feeling I would only suggest this book to a very close person who I know would understand it. I don't know. It's not for everybody. It is not like hard to read, but it's not a simple book. I'm trying to say.
It certainly wasn't for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to get there. I'm really excited to hear what, because I can feel something's going on.
Well, a lot of this, because it's so poetic, and I'm not denying it's very poetic, I put a lot of the problems I have down to translation. I do not think poetry translates from one language to another. I think it's impossible, to be honest, because so much of it relies on the words, the cadence, the rhythm, the sound, the way the words flow together. And you just need to look at something like, take a classic like Dante and look at all the various different translations, and they're completely different. And they all sound like arse compared to the original. And this is the problem I have with the novel. And I'm not saying that the translator is bad, because he's translated a lot of books. He's well regarded. The books garnered good reviews, but for me, the prose did not work at all. The poetry fell flat in too many places. And I kind of put that down to the translation, to be honest, because it's not the kind of novel I'd want to have to translate. And I don't think poetic works translate. And I think this is an example of it, for me anyway. But I don't know, because I don't speak Danish. So
yeah.
I usually do struggle with translated material. We've talked about that before, my struggles with the Master and Margarita and things like that. But I didn't have any, I don't know. It didn't strike me as that way at all. I thought it was, I don't know. It seemed okay to me. It didn't seem difficult to sort of get the point that was trying to be made. It didn't seem less impactful. Does that make sense?
I need to say for myself, because this is not my native language, I might not be picking up on the details that Ulysses can obviously see and feel.
No, I don't think it's about details. There's nothing grammatically wrong with it.
It's not. I didn't.
I think also poetry, like music, there is a thing which whereas standard prose, you've got a story. It's written well with poetry and a use of a lot of imagery, which was used here. If it doesn't ring true to you, then it doesn't ring true to you, and that's a matter of personal taste.
Yeah, absolutely.
And all I'm saying is my personal taste is this did not work for me at all.
It didn't work for you.
It just didn't.
Did it not work for you Okay, eraser. Did it not work from the beginning? Because I remember when you first started off, I think you were quite into it, and then it slows, right, at one point.
I found some passages very, very good and very well put together and very evocative. And I found some passages, to be quite frank, completely irritating. Like there was somewhere I was like literally rolling my eyes and going, "Oh no, this is just," and it's kind of the change and the stop-start nature of it to me, like the flowing passages and then suddenly something which, and it's not like I plowed through this book. The sections I have problems with, I read again and again and again, trying to make sense of them, and they did not make sense to me. They did not work for me. And some of them really annoyed me, like the passage towards the beginning where they're all sat together and they're all talking and trying to get the kind of flow of conversation into it. And there's just the constant repetition of, and someone said, and someone said, and someone said. And by the end of the page, I was like going, no, this is really annoying me now. Again, like I'm saying, it's a personal thing. It just... some bits were great and some bits really did not work for me at all.
I would agree on that particular point where it's said somebody passage, because I felt that way there too. I think she's really, really good and very innovative with point of view, but then where she uses repetition, there's another passage I think where King's lieutenants coming for Marin, and she feels it like a stab in her chest, and there's that repetition again. It starts off and you think, oh, that's interesting, I see how it works, but then it goes for quite a long time, and you kind of, I don't know. What about Laraj? You said the language is quite poetic.
Yeah.
Did you enjoy those passages as well?
I did. I saw it as kind of like reinforcing that. I mean, we've talked before a few minutes ago about rituals and one of the keys to ritual being repetition, and that seemed to me to be an echo of that. I think she was deliberately doing that as an echo of that kind of like ritualistic. And someone said, it was kind of like, the bits. This is not a great example. It's the only one I could think of off the top of my head. So bits of the Bible, like if you think of Genesis and somebody begat somebody and somebody begat somebody and somebody begat somebody, it wasn't necessarily a way of passing on information, but of kind of like introducing a kind of like ritualistic mantra to the feel of it all. And that was my interpretation of it anyway, that repetition.
I felt the same. It was almost like chanting. And also I felt like she was starting the same like the sentences with the same, I don't know, phrase for me, it sounded like all those feelings or everything that followed was equally important. It was not like I've mentioned these three first and then it's like, she wanted me to feel all those things, like bum, 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 bum. This all was happening, like stabbing her and paining her and hurting. And she wanted me to stop my brain and to feel it. I felt it. It worked for me, but I'm a ritualistic witch
And I think... that kind of like ritualistic text, that repetition, it's almost like punctuation, another form of punctuation.
Yeah, it worked on me. Yeah.
I like the technique itself, and I've seen it used before. I just thought it was maybe a little too, used too heavily in this passage.
Overused, yeah.
Yeah, but, where where sentences end and said somebody. To me, the effect of it was quite cool, because the effect is as if you are in a room and there are loads of people, loads of voices, almost a cacophony, and you hear a bit here and you hear a bit there. And that in itself is quite cool.
But look, I mean, no one's obligated to like or fully sort of like process why an author has made a particular choice. We all have our own individual likes and dislikes in terms of sort of like things that happen within a book.
Yeah.
And we will just cut your opinion out of the podcast.
Women are deciding nowadays.
I don't even think it's the author's choice, to be quite honest. This is my point. You know, someone said, and while I was reading that, I was kind of thinking, I wonder what this sounds like in Danish.
Yeah.
Because that's where the flow and the choice of words, the sound of the words is important. Because when I read, I kind of like somehow imagine the sound in my head as well, especially when I read something poetic like this. Right, I take my time and try and imagine the sound or someone saying it, and it just didn't flow. And I was kind of thinking, I wonder what it sounds like in Danish, because it might well flow. It might the words might flow better together, and this is not the author's choice. And this is the issue with, again, coming back to don't want to bang on about it, but I don't think poetry is translatable. I do not. I think that Strugatsky was, because it was kind of fairly in a way what I'd call sort of rugged prose, descriptive, and you can do that. But something that is as inherently sort of poetic, metaphorical, image-laden as this, the words and the sounds of them really matter.
I do understand what you're saying, but I struggle more with translated prose than I do with translated poetry. I mean, you're absolutely right that you're never going to be 100% sure that you're getting the full impact of what the author who wrote in a particular language might have meant. You're never going to get that. It's just not going to happen ever. From even the best translation in the entire world of a particular work is never going to give the full impact. But to me, it kind of like, it got the rhythm was there, and the ritualistic mantra of it was there, and it worked okay for me. But again, it's a personal thing. For some people it will, for some people it won't.
I wonder if different people perceive these things differently as well, because you can perceive it more, I don't know, phonetically, right? Or it might be bringing, or the poetry for you might be bringing up images, and then the rhythm and everything comes from the imagery in your head. It could be that we're just experiencing it differently.
Absolutely. And this is that's why I used the example of the Master and Margarita before, because I read a not very good translation, and there were turns of phrase and sort of like idioms and metaphors used that I just thought, what? That I don't get. And I think what the translator had done is translated the phrase, which might have had some kind of very culturally specific thing in the original Russian, which had no real, it didn't mean the same thing in English. So I was kind of like constantly trying to use search engines to find what a particular phrase might have meant in Russian, which was like an exercise in fucking futility, I tell you.
Well, it's kind of the impression I got here was that the translator had translated it too accurately, like literally word for word, and that's why it didn't work for me. But that's just my impression.
I don't know. I guess we would have to ask her or him. Olga, if you're listening, let us know.
We have questions.
We have questions. But I suspect she will have had, final say-so over a sort of like translated draft.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I certainly want to read The Employees to see how it compares, a previous book. Again, translated by the same person, but, like I say, no, not throwing any shade on him. This is, it's a book I would not have wanted to even contemplate translating.
Yeah.
Having read poetry in in the original language and then seen the translation. And every time I've seen that in the past, I've thought, it's fucking shit. That translation is shit. Don't even bother. Just, hear someone read it out in the original language, even if you don't understand it, it'll sound nice.
How do you feel about the fact that, as we learn in the book, this is based on real people, real women? At the end, there is like a quick summary. There are years, there are dates, and the way how they were murderized. That's beautiful. But for me, it brought a question, because I have no problem with books about witches that are but these were real women. My question is, how do you feel the book dealt with redeeming them from the suggested witchcraft? Did it? This is I don't know, but they were real women. This is,
Did you feel it might be a bit exploitative?
I don't know. This is my question. Maybe I just need to understand it better. I would like to ask the author. Olga, hello.
But
I'm
have
not
is
criticizing this. I mean, this is not criticism. It's just my truthful question. How would you feel if you were ancestors of this person? I don't know. Not ancestors. The other way. you know?
Descendant. Yeah.
Yes. Because it didn't say they were not doing it. It was ambiguous. Which is, I'm not criticizing it, but it never said obviously they were not supposed to die or suffer, whatever they did. But was it on purpose? I don't know. Maybe she's really brave. I kind of liked it, that she didn't go that way of romanticizing it and,
Well, she did a phenomenal amount of research and really deserves praise for the amount of research she's done.
This is why I would like to know from her,
and maybe
how?
Maybe, one of them literally shat on someone's doorstep. And it's in the annals.
It's all possible. It's all possible.
No reason to burn anyone. I mean, I'd love to shit on Nigel Farage's doorstep.
Yeah.
I don't...
No reason for them to suffer for any of that,
I mean, from what I've read about Kristenza Krukow, however it's pronounced, she... there were wax children made. That was one of the things that actually did apparently happen.
Yes.
So a certain amount of this did happen, and doubtlessly they would have cast spells. I didn't see them being presented in a bad light for it. I saw them as just being presented as people who are just going about their stuff, and it was completely normal for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they didn't even regard it as sort of witchcraft or devilry, because they're talking about God at certain points.
Yeah, that's true.
That they do actually believe in God.
There's this kind of overlap between sort of folk tradition and what we call witchcraft. There's this blurred line between the two. That is, the two things are not necessarily separate from each other.
Yeah, and superstition and all the spells. I love the spells.
I didn't feel like their memory was being kind of besmirched or anything like that. It didn't feel that way to me. I think it would have been dishonest of her to say they weren't really doing witchcraft, because maybe they were. But So the issue is not, for me, the issue is not, were they doing witchcraft? It was, why is witchcraft considered bad?
What did the people do to them for
They were just doing folk spells, old traditional folk spells. You calling it witchcraft or whatever, it's just stuff passed down through generations. Oh, if you're ill with this, have some goat's milk or whatever. That
even
kind
at the
of thing.
beginning,
Is it witchcraft?
The childbirth, those scenes were so powerful to me. How, oh my God, that was, oh my God, that was so strong. Also, I needed to Google what
skin girdle.
Yes,
yeah.
What are we talking about? What is she holding? What are they holding? What's happening? So
Please explain the skin girdle to us now.
me.
Yes.
Well, you Googled
Well,
it.
you mentioned it.
It was if I understood it was something. I think it was made of like leather.
I didn't Google it. Don't look at me.
I'm looking at everybody. Nobody is helping. Okay, so
Go on.
no. I don't know what's happening. I forgot.
For the context, a woman is giving birth, and then the circle of women are passing around a skin girdle, and when a woman is holding it, she takes over the pain of giving birth from the woman who's actually giving birth, and that way they are helping her. And then a man is given a skin girdle to hold, and he, I think, nearly
Can't manage.
passes out.
Yes. He can't handle the pain.
Because he asked, like, why is she screaming so much? Like, what the hell? Why? And
It's a
so
great scene.
They gave it
It
to him,
is.
and he was like, no, take this away. I can't bear this pain.
Well, I might have a really stupid interpretation of it.
Tell us about your skin girdle.
I assumed it was kind of like some combination of maybe afterbirth or amniotic sac around that had come out with a baby. I don't know. I mean, I didn't look it up. That's the only thing I could think it might be.
I understood it in a way like after the birth, it's good to put something quite heavy or like tight on the belly to like help the uterus and the whole belly to not be that big later. You know, so when I gave birth, they gave me a little. It looks like the rolling thing for a doll, but it was for my body, and I was like using that on my belly, and a waist trainer, whatever, you know,
Right.
like
Yeah.
flexible but like really tight thing that helps the whole body to get back.
Yeah.
I mean, what the object was, I thought was irrelevant. I saw it as a kind of metaphor that, like, yeah, you're taking the pain away. You're dealing with the pain.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Maybe it literally is that. Maybe it isn't an actual physical thing at all.
It is. I actually really found it.
Oh, really?
All right.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, I thought it might be made up or something. I will never. But I found a lot of stuff around it. But I read just like a few sentences. So I think it actually existed in the past.
Right.
Well, I'm sure it did because everything's pretty accurate in there.
You can tell where a lot of research went into it because there are a lot of
Absolutely.
technical names for various things that no longer exist.
Even the spells, I think they're actually real spells that existed, and she just like collected them into this book.
Yeah. Yeah, and the descriptions of like what they did with the herring and what they did with the wool and all that went into real detail there. Yeah, it's really impressive. So what did you think, Pike, about because you didn't, in answer to Lygia's earlier question about how did you feel the witches were represented or the women were represented?
Well, the real women, so this is 17th century. I think any descendants by now, you know, they wouldn't have any strong feelings about these ancestors from a very long time ago. So I didn't feel like that was uncomfortable for me that she used real women, and I liked that they were very human. It wasn't always flattering to them, the story, you know. There is the shitting on the doorstep. There is the woman who Christians, you know, towards the end says, "I'm noble, get me out of here."
That's so human.
Fuck these guys, save me.
Yes, they're not. They're fairly rounded characters, and they're not perfect. If you wrote about people who existed, even say, I don't know, 100 years ago, it would be a lot more sensitive.
Yeah.
I mean, she didn't. It's the second time that she actually went. You know, when she went, "I'm noble, get me out of here." It's the second time she was accused of witchcraft. The first time she buggered off. That was in Nakabola, and the woman who got executed was called. Oh, what was her name?
Usa. And wasn't she Christen's maid or something like that?
She was. I think she was a maid in the house, and Christenza And again, this is from what I've read about the actual case. Christenza was from nobility, but as a daughter, the custom at the time was you're sent to another noble person's house to be brought up as nobility.
Mm.
And then that, I think Usa was someone who worked in the house, basically.
Right.
So not nobility.
No. So this novel made me cry on 3 separate occasions. Did anyone else cry? Please tell me it wasn't
Me.
just me. You did too.
I did.
I got very, very angry at various points
Mm.
because I was reading it at a point also when a lot of men were really, really, really annoying me. And it just all piled up.
Ooh.
I felt helpless rage more than
Oof.
sadness.
Mhm.
I also got really angry at certain points where they were kind of like just accusing them and, treating them shabbily and ignoring what was going on. And, some of the men were, had been friendly. What was the name of the guy who said he'd seen them through the window and then afterwards regretted it?
Yeah.
Sort of real sort of points. It didn't make me sad at any point. It didn't have that effect on me.
Mhm.
But it did make me angry at certain points.
I don't think that when it made me cry, I don't think it was out of sadness. It was more anger and kind of like frustration. There was part of the novel when they were recounting the cost of executing a woman.
Oh, yeah.
And they were listing
Yeah.
all the ale for the executioner, and this is how much the rope cost, this is how much the coals. And that bit made me cry. And it was just out of sheer, utter frustration that, people genuinely saw that as an important consideration in whether to fucking kill somebody.
Yeah, that was disgusting.
It just,
Mm-hmm.
it's so difficult to get your head into the mindset of people who would think that way.
Yeah.
Well,
I think
there's
that's
plenty
what
of them still about.
Yeah.
Cost above
There are.
all, basically.
Yeah.
What were the other 2 places where you cried?
Oh, God. During their, and again, air quotes, trial, when the daughter had to give evidence against her mum.
Mm.
Oh, yeah.
And it was just like, this is just too much. I think you guys have all said that it took you quite a long time to get through this. I read it in 2 days. I'm not saying I'm better or faster or anything like that.
You
I
are
just couldn't, I
saying
literally couldn't put it down. I just couldn't put it down. But at that point, I did have to put it down.
Yeah.
Because it was too real. It was just too awful. The thought of this poor girl being forced to give evidence against her own mother. She clearly didn't want to. And then her mum gave her words of encouragement when she was on the stand. And it was just like, this is just the most awful thing in the world. It's horrible. I can't remember the other time.
Was it when a head went in the gutter?
No, it wasn't. I mean, I did feel very, very sorry for Christen's. But to be honest with you, I felt more empathy with the other women than I did with Christen's herself. I'm not quite sure why.
Yeah, certainly with the one who went mad from the torture, who just completely lost it.
Yeah.
That's when
From
I
the torture,
cried.
that was, yeah.
And when they were like in that prison sort of, and they were in the corners, and there was this part where they were like couldn't see each other, and they were like, somebody's touching me, is that you? Who is it? We are still alive, so who are you? I can't see anybody. Are you still here? I'm like, they are going all crazy and they can't see and they are naked and everything is just I'm gonna cry. That was just like, how can you treat a human being like this? How? For what?
The debasement of their humanity, it was just terrible.
Yeah.
I thought, what's her name? Apollon?
Apollon, yeah.
Apollon
Yeah, that's the
and-
one who went, lost it.
And Elizabeth, whom we haven't mentioned much actually. I thought both of them were showing different ways that the society can break somebody who is seen as an outsider. Where Elizabeth breaks, by saying, okay, I am what you say I am, but it's past me now. I am going to conform, and now I'm going to be exactly what you want me to be. And then she's just hollowed out from the inside. That was really sad for me in the trial, where she's, you can see that conflict in her. And then Apollon, she also internalizes it because they torture the shit out of her, and then she does not conform in the end. She just says, well, I am what you say I am, and nothing, and then gets murdered for it.
Yeah.
And that was I found that quite terrible, because as Satanists, we, never mind all other aspects of our identity, we, I think, see ourselves as outsiders in some way, and just having it laid out like that, these are the two different ways they can break you. It's harrowing.
There's a piece of work called La Sorcière, which, and the translation for that is The Witch, written by a French social historian called Jules Michelet. And the Witch is about, it's kind of like a social history of the kind of like the serfs of medieval France and Europe as a whole. And he says, no, they were practicing witchcraft and Satanism. It was an act of class warfare. It was because God was for the rich people, God was for the rulers, and therefore, in their desperation to have some kind of autonomy and control, the poor, the working classes, the serfs, turned to God's adversary, Satan.
I don't think that happened in any of this. I mean, from what I certainly read in the book, it seemed that none of them had any kind of like affiliation with the devil, and that they did actually believe in a god.
They did believe in a devil as well, right? Remember they had
but they didn't.
How do you remember the bit with the blowing of a candle?
Yeah, but also, guys, it doesn't matter if they believed. They were women.
Absolutely not.
Do you remember there is this, like, I will read a few sentences just here. I was looking for this one.
I think it might be the same one
I'm certain. Page 72. So they consulted their books of demonology, and they read, the woman is more easily tempted by Satan, for she is weaker than the man in both body and soul. And they read, the woman is a wicked and imperfect animal. When a woman weeps, she weaves snares and labors to deceive a man. It goes and goes and goes. I'm like,
Going back to what I was saying about Jules Michelet earlier, that was kind of his point, that it was that. They weren't necessarily saying Hail Satan or as a kind of like supernatural thing or an invocation to call an actual Satan. It was more like it was a response to what the church were putting on them as people. And that was I think that was reflected. I mean, especially in that passage you just read there. I mean, that which is clearly men trying to control women and who they feel should have no autonomy and no power.
So well written, by the way.
I just had a really awful big thought inspired by what you said, which is not strictly speaking about the book, and I don't think we should dwell on it, but I'll just say what I was thinking. You know how maybe now the kind of certain reprehensible views of some people come from this similar idea of being the antagonist, because if you like, the affluent middle classes have the moral high ground. You have, by being, and I consider myself totally woke, by being woke, you have a moral high ground. You can tell people that they are, they're treating other people badly and therefore they're bad, and so on and so forth. And I think for some people, maybe it's not necessarily that they are awful people, but they're just resisting.
They feel powerless.
Something. They cannot, they feel powerless, and they are saying, oh yeah, all right, well, I don't need it. I cannot have your shit, so I don't need your shit. I'm going to be the opposite.
I'm sure that's true. Yeah. I mean, I think we can see that playing out certainly in British society at the moment. But I don't know that, I am also woke to the fucking max. But I don't know that I see myself as morally superior to anybody, but more like these are the things I believe, and it bewilders me that people can't understand that that point of view comes from each person's right to be who they are, as long as what they are doesn't negatively affect anybody else. No one's being hurt.
That's a nuanced individual point of view, right? But when you
It
see
is,
people as
yes.
a mass, you know, the messaging that comes through is a lot less
Nuanced.
subtle.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm sorry for this tangent.
No, it's a good one.
Was a
good tangent.
great point, yes.
Let's get back to the book.
I didn't get any impression through the book that they had any particular disrespectful feelings towards the church. They had disrespectful feelings towards the priest who was married to Elizabeth and beat her for good reason.
Yeah.
You know.
But I think to people of that age, the two things were not separable, not separatable.
I suppose so, yeah.
It's kind of like if you criticise the man, you're also criticising the church because that man is a pastor. Therefore, to them, there was no division in that. You're not criticising a man, you're criticising a man of God. I'm not saying that's an excuse or a good reason. It's completely crap. But I think possibly that's how people of that time period, and I'm not. That's not unique to Denmark. That's pretty common across all of Europe, I think, at that time.
Yeah, it's very hard to tell, right, what the people were thinking or whether they were thinking at all about the church, and because none of the characters, you know, is philosophizing on that at any point. They're busy with the work they need to do and you know, the day-to-day
surviving.
Yeah.
And specifically, what do we know about what women were thinking? That's a different point.
Women think?
What they were thinking.
Yeah.
Like in history, you know, like even what we are learning in history in the classes, it's not written by
it's all
women.
written by men.
So,
yeah.
Sorry, that's a different.
And maybe that's why a novel like this is so important, because it does give that kind of like, even a fictionalized account is going to be better than no account at all. Yeah. And I think we can sort of like extrapolate. I mean, Pike, you saying that they never sort of like discussed their religion, they never discussed their beliefs, they just did. You know, they did this on this day, they did that on the other day, but they never talked about. But maybe people didn't. I think when something like religion is so intrinsic to how you live your life every day, it's such a common thing, you don't necessarily, it's not really talked about.
Yeah,
maybe it's that.
You don't question it.
It's not an option.
Yeah.
Right. It is the truth you are living, so.
Yeah. And I also think that a lot of the novel was centered around the idea that, as Lithos said earlier, these women are not necessarily anti-religion or anti-Christianity. For the benefit of the listener, Lithos just dropped his headphones.
He's trying to scratch an itch and knock my headphones off. It's like one of those, it's in a spot where, is it easier to get to it this way or that way? That way, and I knock my headphones off.
This is why.
Oh, right, yeah.
For the benefit of the listener, Laraj has a poker that he uses to scratch his back.
No.
It's my grabber for when my hands don't work properly, but it also doubles as a scratcher.
Oh my goodness.
Put your sex toys away.
Put my sex toys away. It's not very thick, is it? I mean, I don't know what you're going to get out of that. Anyway, I can't remember what I was saying now. Fuck, what was I talking about? I think part of what this novel was trying to say is that it wasn't that these women weren't religious or weren't Christian, it's that they weren't Christian enough for, you know.
Their behaviour.
Their behaviour was never going to be, I mean, that passage you read out earlier, how can anybody possibly, with that against you, how can you possibly ever be, you can't ever measure up to that. You know, there's always going to be some bullshit reason to accuse you of witchcraft.
Any excuse is good enough.
Yeah.
You ugly, you're a Satan. You're too pretty, you're a Satan. You limp, you're Satan. What the fuck are you doing, guys? And the wax child.
We want to talk
right?
about the wax child a little bit.
Yeah.
No, I was just going to say it's interesting we haven't. And how do people feel about that as a literary device in the novel? As
Loved
the kind
it.
of, because it's kind of basically the whole thing is written from the point of view of the wax child, and the wax child, being made of wax, has no particular emotional response to stuff. Certainly how
they do.
Did you think they did? This is the interesting part we're getting to. I felt they didn't. I felt they just took in stimuli and sort of gave back what the stimuli were they were receiving from whatever, from the soil, from the sky, from and the people that they inhabited at certain points. But I got the impression that they did not. They were emotionless in watching the whole thing.
That wax child made me the saddest in the whole book, because wax child is constantly lonely and bemoans that they were created for a human who knew they would perish, and now they're to stay there forever, completely alone. I thought of the wax child like that kid robot in the Spielberg film, where I think the kid is underwater at the end or something and just sitting there forever, cannot die, cannot live.
That's interesting.
There was a couple of points when the wax child says that it's constantly waiting for Christens to come back.
Yes.
And I felt that was... I do understand what you were saying, Lithos. There did seem to be this kind of like dry recitation of events as they happened. But also, I didn't feel that it was kind of, the wax child itself was like this emotionless kind of like object.
Yeah, because it was also sometimes saying like, nobody is holding me. I don't feel loved or something like.
Yeah.
I thought it's mostly like being sentient, but also at some point the consciousness was present in a way that made me feel like there are feelings. How awful that is.
I thought that's kind of like it was anthropomorphizing the fact that it's made of wax. I did not.
And other things.
It was like, the analogy of the robot was made. That's the way I felt about it. It was like it's a little robot, and it does not understand emotion. Yes, it's alone, it's waiting, but it's just been created for that purpose. All it wants is to fulfill its purpose, because that's what it was made for, like a robot. That's the way I saw it. And it might be my penchant for sci-fi that's put.
But this was made of
that on it.
Pieces of nails and hair. Human stuff. So
Liffus, did you feel that the little kid robot had no feelings in the Spielberg film?
I didn't see the film. Sorry,
I haven't seen that film.
Me neither. I have no idea.
No, me neither.
I cried
Sorry,
the whole.
Mike.
Okay, another tangent. Back to the wax child.
Okay.
What's
We'll
the
have
name
to
of the
do a
movie?
movie night.
What's the name of the
I
movie?
don't know. Is it AI? Is it? I don't know. I haven't.
You just made it up.
Wall-E?
It will be in no.
Wall-E or no?
No, it's not Wall-E.
That was.
It will be in the show notes. We'll put in the show notes.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll find it.
Maybe it's got Jude Law as a sex robot.
Jude Law is a sex robot.
Well, he's a gigolo robot.
Now I have to see this film.
I didn't know you were into Jude Law.
I'm not. It's just the idea of Jude Law being a sex robot. I'm intrigued and somewhat fascinated. Do people think he's good looking, Jude Law? I've never really...
I need to Google. I have no clue who that is.
This conversation has gone lowbrow.
No, yeah, we've got...
yeah, we're talking about the wax child here. But I think it's interesting that we each got different perspectives on what the wax child represents. Is actually quite good, because it does mean that, that was left to your imagination to a certain extent.
It's almost as if the wax child is a receptacle which is open to all of our opinions and beliefs.
Yes.
A semi-sentient device. It was cleverly done, I thought.
It was Awesome.
Yeah, it was a very interesting, and I don't want to dwell on the negatives because I think there were some really great passages that I enjoyed in the book as well.
Do we want to do some favorite quotes?
Hatred comes to the one who trembles. I pity them. I pity my mistress. I pity Marin and Marin's servant girl. I pity the humans, reckless, quickly absorbed, and used up like nylon stockings that run the same evening they are worn. Although the use of nylon in there did surprise me, but then I suppose the thing is still alive. The wax child lives forever.
Yeah, that's the thing.
So
Yes.
we'll know what
Speaking to
nylon
us
is.
from modern times, yeah.
Yeah.
I was surprised at that point as well. Okay, I've got a very romantic one. The still being of night entwines itself in the treetops. I think I love her with that part of me that is never illuminated. I think that's beautiful.
Now I feel stupid for what I'm going to read.
Well, we just had nylon stockings, so
Yeah,
so
okay.
during the
I really like the spells, so I have this one, which made me giggle. Okay, so listen. Cast some blood of a hare into the fire, so that it makes a smell. Then all the girls of the house will piss themselves. Or give them blood from a bat, and those who have mixed with men will piss themselves. That's what I have.
Either
I have
way, you
more,
piss
but
yourself.
they are long, like 3 pages. I don't want to, people need to read the book, but this was fun.
And I was in the king's ear, and I was in the king's mouth, and I was in the king's loose tooth, and in the quicksilver of his liver, and did hear a scratching of the pen across the paper as he wrote a royal letter to his deputy. It's a fairly innocuous paragraph, but it just encapsulates everything that I loved about this novel, the kind of like immediacy, the closeness, the kind of like claustrophobia of it, and also the kind of poetical, lyrical beauty of it as well.
She's
And
so
also
good
the
with
accuracy that, he will have had mercury in his liver in them days.
Yes.
I don't know another writer who does quite the same thing with point of view as she does. It was completely new to me.
That
It was certainly
awesome, right?
an absolutely, it was a unique
Yeah.
book. It's sort of like, quite unlike anything else I've read.
Let's do pitchforks then. Lithos, you go first.
Okay, I will give it a 7 just from the effect it had on me. And I am putting some of that down to the translation, I'm afraid.
Fair. Lajea?
Wow. I'm going to give it a 10.
Wow.
Pike?
I am torn between 8 and 9, so I'll say 8.5. I think she's a fantastic writer. It did get a little weaker for me towards the end, but it's still a fantastic book.
It's 10 from me as well. I just loved it. Unconditionally loved it.
Okay.
It was just brilliant. Yeah, okay. Right, so that was The Wax Child by Olga Ravn. As ever, those are just our opinions. If you want to have an opinion, read the fucking book, as Lithos would say.
Yeah.
Aye,
Lithos.
indeed.
And speaking of Lithos, it's your choice next. What are we reading next?
Oh, we are reading The Wasp Factory by Ian Banks.
Yay!
Okay.
It's going to be grim and gruesome.
Bring it!
Yeah. Right, so that's what we'll be doing next. I've been Laraj, hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.
Don't burn witches. Hail Satan.
Hail Satan.